Gutman is convinced the Chinese have co-opted American technology and turned it against us.
We are worse off and they are better off. I mean, it is that simple, yes.
Once, China could only hack the U.S. from half a world away. Now, security experts fear the Chinese may be planting spyware directly in the computer products we import from them. In this secure area of the Harris Corporation, engineers scour foreign-built electronics and software headed for federal agencies.
Most of the elements of the U.S. government, they come to us to build safe, secure networks that they can trust.
Retired Major General Dale Meyerose heads Harris's cyber unit. His engineers are trained to spot Trojan horses planted during manufacture. So even though a computer, a piece of software, could come straight from a U.S. company's factory overseas, that's not necessarily safe?
That's not necessarily safe. You know, they import cheap software that has things buried in it, but it's cheap and it's easy to use. See, it gets packed in before the shrink wrap goes on the wrapper.
Meyerose says 90% of the bugs his technicians find are simply mistakes, but a full 10% are maliciously planted for competitive advantage or espionage. And obviously there's a trade-off here because a lot of manufacturing, a lot of companies have gone overseas in order to lower costs and therefore lower the cost of the actual technology.
Precisely.
Are we risking too much in the name of saving money?
As a country, my answer is yes. I think it is a national security issue because we tend to think in the United States that we are the leading edge technology on everything. And in fact, we are trailing in many of the cyber sectors.
Occupying more than 6 million square feet and home to 23,000 military and civilian workers, the Pentagon is a sprawling symbol of America's defense. But in 2008, this modern-day fortress saw one of its computer networks breached by a tiny piece of hardware. A thumb drive containing a computer virus was inserted into a military laptop by a foreign intelligence agency. The malicious code spread, opening the military classified network to hackers.
That breach was indeed a wake-up call for the Defense Department. We had very much been paying attention to protecting our networks, but I think we did not know quite how vulnerable we were.
William Lynn is the United States Deputy Secretary of Defense. He says the true cyber threat looms on the horizon. Is a cyber 9/11, is a cyber Pearl Harbor within the realm of possibility?
Well, I think the most important thing for the American people to understand about the cyber threat is that it's not fully matured yet. We've seen theft of data, theft of intellectual property, and we've even seen some degradation of networks. We've seen very little in terms of destructive attacks, but the tools are out there, that's clearly possible, it's almost sure to happen.
Lynn says the real challenge is protecting our nation's power grid, water supply, and transportation networks, all operated by industrial control systems, computers originally designed to be self-contained. Today, they are connected to sophisticated networks for remote operability. But imagine someone deliberately corrupting a critical system like an offshore oil rig or a nuclear power plant, even causing a widespread blackout. To Joseph Weiss, it's not a what if, but a when.
Our systems are simply not made to be cyber secure. Period.
Weiss is an expert on industrial control systems and their vulnerabilities.
They were never designed with security because nobody ever thought anybody would want to get at them.
It never entered anybody's mind that somebody would want to cause damage to an oil refinery or make the trains go onto the wrong track.
No, not intentionally. The focus was trying to keep a good guy from doing a dumb thing or a bad thing. So what we did, as best as possible, was to try to make the systems idiot-proof. When you do that, you make them even more open.
Some people might say you are an alarmist, that you can't just hack into a control system. Is that the case?
No. It's not that difficult It really isn't.
We've seen instances where malicious actors were actually breaking into traffic control networks in major metropolitan areas, changing the settings on signs and changing the lighting sequence for traffic lights. This is the main watch floor for the National Cyber.
Sean McGurk is director of the National Cybersecurity and Communications Integration Center, a top secret facility in the shadow of the nation's capital that stands ready to respond to a large-scale cyber attack. It's a place where cameras are rarely allowed. Red lights flashed constantly when we visited, reminding the analysts not to display any classified intelligence. But we were able to see cyber threats in real time.
This is actually data from the sensors that we use to actually monitor malicious activity in departments and agencies in the federal government. So this kind of outlines what's going on an hourly or almost quarter-hourly basis.
So what's your assumption in terms of some sort of cyber attack on the nation's critical infrastructure? I mean, do you think it's bound to happen?
As intelligent as we all think we are, and as diligent as we're working, there's always someone out there second and third step ahead in the chessboard looking for that next penetration point.
And as a cyber grid expands and becomes more elaborate, Deputy Secretary Lynn says attempts to breach it only increase in number. How many intrusions are there on government networks, military networks specifically?
It's going on all the time. It's a very dynamic environment.
Thousands every day?
Thousands of attempts every day, absolutely.
And what are they trying to get?
They're trying to get information about our weapon systems, about our plans, about how we operate.
Have they gotten any of these things?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, they have. I mean, we know that some weapon systems plans, some critical information has been lost. There's no question over the past several years.
In central Iran, on the edge of the desert, sits a sprawling compound that represents one of the gravest threats to the security of the United States and its allies. It is the Natanz nuclear enrichment facility, widely suspected to be the hub of Iran's ambitious and shadowy nuclear weapons program. Covering 25 heavily guarded acres and built as much as 25 feet underground, Natanz was designed to be impenetrable. But in 2009, its massive walls were breached, not by a bomb, but by a computer virus, later dubbed Stuxnet.
We knew straight away that there was something different about it. And then when we started to dig in a little bit deeper, we were really very shocked.
Liam O'Murku is a virus hunter at the security company Symantec. He was one of the first engineers to get a look at Stuxnet and led the team that analyzed the virus. What they found was the most sophisticated cyber weapon the world had ever seen, an act of war waged in code. What was it like when you first laid your eyes on this code?
That was really very shocking to us. Could have been targeting some facility in the US, could have been targeting many facilities around the world. So there was a real energy there, a real excitement, a real determination to find out as quickly as we could what exactly was being targeted and what was being changed.
Your adrenaline was pumping.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Stuxnet was a game changer because of its ability to strike targets from long distance with astonishing precision. In nuclear plants, uranium is spun in high-speed centrifuges and enriched for power generation. If spun long enough, it can be used for nuclear weapons. Somehow, Stuxnet made the Iranian centrifuges spin wildly out of control until they shattered and broke apart.
We kept monitoring it and kept improving it, kept adding new features so that they could be more successful.
Stuxnet's sophistication was staggering, and its secret lay in its exquisitely detailed programming. It's a massive virus, more than 20 times the size of most malware. But even as experts unraveled it, the mystery surrounding Stuxnet deepened.
We don't know exactly who was behind Stuxnet.
When O'Murku and his fellow software detectives picked up its trail, Stuxnet had been in the wild for more than a year, silently spreading through global networks. but its destination was a mystery.
So you could actually trace the spread of Stuxnet, like a disease.
Yeah, exactly. From the information that we found in Stuxnet, we're actually able to tell where each infection had come from, what path it followed along the way. So what we did was we gathered as many samples of Stuxnet as we could, and we traced where all the infection had come from, and then we were able to map it out, like a map of epidemiology. That's what we have here, actually.
O'Murphy and his team figured out the virus was hunting for a very specific target, a programmable logic controller, or PLC, built by the German manufacturer Siemens. These small computers run machinery in factories and control power grids all over the world. Stuxnet was looking for PLCs hooked up to uranium centrifuges in a configuration that existed only one place on Earth, Natanz.
The Stuxnet has a lot of firsts in it, but the big takeaway from it is that this is the first time we've ever seen a threat that's able to change how physical machinery in a plant or a factory floor could work.
But what gives experts sleepless nights now is the inevitability of a Stuxnet 2.0, and soon, given the pace of evolution in cyber warfare. Even the worm itself accepts its fleeting shelf life. On June 24, 2012, Stuxnet will delete itself from every infected computer and simply disappear. On a battlefield without borders, we remain captive to high technology and high anxiety. I'm Melissa Lee. Thanks for watching.